The sun over Veltra 9 was dim, filtered through layers of thick clouds. The planet had a strange beauty to it, orange skies, red dust, and tall, sharp mountains in the distance. But it was a hard place to live. Dust storms came often, and water had to be pulled from deep underground. Still, people came. Humans and aliens alike had built a colony here, hoping to make a life. Riley Carter stood near the mining site, holding a scanner in one hand and wiping sweat from his forehead with the other. His suit was dusty, and his hair was a mess. But he didn't care. He was too busy trying to fix the broken drilling rig. The machine had stopped working again, and no one else wanted to get their hands dirty. A group of miners stood nearby waiting. Most of them were human, but a few were from other planets. One of them, a tall woman with silver blue skin and glowing green eyes, was watching him closely. Her name was Kalira. She was a Chiron, and she wore the uniform of a protectorate officer. Her face showed no emotion, but her arms were crossed, and her tail twitched slightly. "You humans always break things," she said coldly. Riley didn't look up. "And we always fix them too." Kalira stepped closer. "This site is under shared control. You're not allowed to change settings without reporting." "I didn't change anything," Riley replied, still focused on the machine. "I'm just trying to keep us from losing another day of work." Kalira said nothing for a moment. Then, without warning, she struck him across the face. It wasn't a hard hit, but it surprised him. Riley stumbled back a step. "That's for being human," she said sharply. The miners gasped. Riley touched his cheek. Then he slowly turned to face her. There was no anger in his eyes, just a tired smile. "Then you'll love my next trick," he said quietly. Kalira narrowed her eyes. "What do you mean?" Riley didn't answer. Instead, he walked back to the control panel and pressed a few buttons. The scanner came to life. A small screen lit up, showing a map of the area beneath their feet. "What is that?" one of the miners asked. "I ran a deep scan yesterday," Riley said. "Something's not right. The ground is unstable. There's a large cavity under the site. It's not natural." Kalira stepped closer to the screen. She stared at the strange shapes on the map. Her face changed slightly. She looked less sure of herself now. "You did this scan without permission," she said. "Yes," Riley said, "because I care whether we all end up buried under 10 tons of rock." Kalira looked at him, her eyes studying his face. There was something different in his voice now, not just sarcasm. Concern. "Show me the scan data," she said. Riley nodded and handed her the scanner. She took it without a word and walked a few steps away, studying the details. The miners slowly returned to work, whispering among themselves. Riley sat on a rock nearby, watching Kalira. He still felt the sting of her hand, but he didn't hold it against her. He had seen that kind of anger before. It wasn't really about him. It was about what he represented. Kalira came back after a while. She handed him the scanner. "You may be right," she said. "I'll report this to command." "Good," Riley said. "Maybe someone will actually listen." She looked at him again. "You take risks. That's how humans survive," he said. "We take risks. And we fix things." Kalira didn't reply. She just turned and walked toward her transport. Riley watched her go, wondering what would happen next. The wind picked up, blowing red dust across the site. Riley pulled his jacket tighter and looked back at the scanner. Whatever was under the ground, it wasn't just rocks or gas pockets. Something was hidden there. Something old Dot, and whatever it was, he had a feeling this was just the beginning. Riley woke up early the next morning. The small colony building where he lived was cold and quiet. He made a cup of warm water and looked out the window. The sky was still orange, and the wind carried red dust across the ground. It was another normal day on Veltra 9, but something had changed. Kalira had seen the scan. She knew something strange was under the ground. And now, people might finally start listening. At the command post, Kalira stood in front of a large screen. She was talking to her superiors through a long-distance signal. The faces on the screen were older Sharan officials. Their skin was duller, and they looked tired. I reviewed the scan, Kalira said. There is something below the mining site. I request permission to investigate further. One of the officials shook his head. Your task is to observe the humans, not to follow their guesses. It's not just a guess, Kalira replied. The scan shows energy patterns. Possibly. Ancient tech. Even more reason to stay out, another official said. If it is precursor tech, it is dangerous. Kalira stood still. She knew better than to argue, but she didn't like it. When the call ended, she looked down at the scanner Riley had given her. She had copied the data, but she hadn't returned the original yet. She looked at it again and thought about the human who gave it to her without fear. Later that day, Riley was back at the mining site, checking the equipment. He looked up and saw Kalira walking toward him. She moved quickly, her boots kicking. Up, Red Dust? You're not supposed to be here, Riley said with a smile. I didn't come for small talk, she replied. Riley raised an eyebrow. Then what did you come for? Kalira handed him the scanner. Your data is accurate, but I was ordered not to follow it. They said it's not our concern. Riley looked at her. That sounds like a cover-up. Kalira didn't respond. I'm still going down there, Riley said. If there's danger, I want to find it before it finds us. Kalira crossed her arms. Then I'm coming with you. Riley blinked. What happened to following orders? She looked away for a second, then back at him. Some things are more important. They left the mining site and went to a lower ridge. There was a small cave nearby, half covered by fallen rocks. Riley had seen it before but never entered. The scan showed the energy coming from deep inside. Riley pushed aside the rocks, making a narrow opening. Kalira followed close behind as they stepped into the darkness. The cave walls were smooth in some places, like they had been shaped by something. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. After walking for several minutes, they found a wide chamber. In the center was a large metallic door. Strange symbols covered its surface. The symbols glowed faintly with a blue light. This isn't human, Riley said. Kalira nodded. Or Sharan. Riley walked closer and touched the door. The symbols grew brighter. A low sound filled the chamber. The ground shook slightly. Maybe that wasn't a good idea, he said. Kalira pulled him back. Let me try. She placed her hand on the door. Nothing happened at first. Then the door began to open slowly, revealing a narrow hallway beyond it. Riley looked at her. Well, that's new. They walked inside together. The hallway was filled with old machines, quiet and covered in dust. Lights along the ceiling flickered on as they passed. This place has power, Riley said. Kalira looked around. It's been asleep for a long time. At the end of the hallway, they found a room filled with more machines and a large screen. Riley touched the panel, and the screen came to life. It showed a map of Veltrin 9 and something deep beneath the colony, a pulsing core of energy. This is what the scanner picked up, Riley said. Kalira stared at the screen. It's alive. The energy is moving. Suddenly, the screen showed a warning message in a strange language. Kalira tilted her head, trying to read it. I don't understand this, she said. Riley pointed to a symbol. That looks like a countdown. Kalira's eyes widened. We may have activated something. They both turned to leave, but the hallway behind them was already shifting. Walls moved. The door began to close. Run! Riley shouted. They sprinted down the hallway as fast as they could. Riley slid through the door just before it shut. Kalira followed a second later, hitting the ground hard. They both lay on the cave floor, breathing heavily. That was too close, Riley said. Kalira looked at him. We need to tell someone. They won't listen, Riley said. Not unless we bring proof. Kalira stood up slowly. Then we find a way to get it. Riley nodded. Together? She gave a small nod. Together. They walked out of the cave, side by side, not as enemies, but as partners in something much bigger than either of them had expected. The next day, Riley sat in his workshop, staring at the small piece of metal he had taken from the cave. It was smooth and heavy, with strange patterns across its surface. It didn't match any known metal from Earth or the Sharon worlds. He ran a few tests on it, but the machines could not identify it. Whatever it was old and powerful. Kalira entered the room quietly. She had been watching the entrance to the cave all night, making sure no one else found it. Any progress? She asked. Riley shook his head. The metal resists heat, pressure, and even radiation. It's not reacting to anything. Kalira picked it up and turned it in her hand. I've seen a material like this once before. It was in a Sharon archive. They said it came from the stars, long before our time. So, this thing in the ground, Riley said, it's not just an old machine. It's from a lost civilization. Kalira nodded. It could be precursor technology, very rare, very dangerous. They both knew the truth. If this tech was real, people would fight over it. Governments, pirates, and even their own leaders might try to take it. We can't keep this quiet forever, Riley said. I know, Kalira replied, but we need proof. Something bigger than this piece. They returned to the cave later that afternoon. The door had remained closed since the last time. Kalira tried placing her hand on it again, but nothing happened. It only opened once, she said. Maybe it needs more power. Riley opened his backpack and took out a power cell. He connected it to the side of the door using wires and clips. A moment later, the symbols lit up again. The door slowly opened. This time, they moved more carefully. They brought lights, tools, and recording devices. The hallway looked the same, but now they noticed more details, tiny moving lights on the walls. Almost like they were being watched out in the main chamber, the screen came on by itself. It showed the energy core again. The pulsing light was faster now. It's waking up, Riley said. Kalira nodded. And it's reacting to us. They searched the room for other controls. On the far wall, they found a panel with small handprints. Riley placed his hand on it, and a second screen appeared. This one showed a group of precursor beings tall, thin creatures with bright skin and long fingers. They were standing in a circle, holding hands around a glowing object. It's a memory, Kalira whispered. A recording, Riley watched closely. The image changed. Now it showed the same beings running, their world falling apart. Fire, lightning, and dark clouds filled the screen. They destroyed themselves, Riley said. Or something destroyed them. The screen turned off. Kalira stepped back. This place is a warning, Riley nodded slowly. But it's also a source of knowledge. If we study it, we could learn so much. Or unleash something we can't control, Kalira said. They took photos and recordings. Every step they took, they made sure to document. They needed evidence. They needed a clear story to tell when they brought this to their leaders. As they packed up, Kalira looked uneasy. What's wrong? Riley asked. My people won't want this truth, she said. They'll see it as a threat. They will. Try to hide it, Riley frowned. Then we tell both sides. Human and Sharon. Let the colony council decide. They won't listen to a human, she said. They'll listen to you, Riley said. You're one of their best. Kalira didn't answer. She looked at the glowing walls and the silent machines. Then she looked at Riley. Maybe it's time I stopped following only their orders, she said. That night, they met with the head of the colony council, a woman named Nora. She was a human, fair, and calm, and had been in charge of Veltrin 9 for 5 years. She listened to their report carefully. Are you telling me there's a precursor machine buried under our feet? Nora asked. Yes, Riley said, and it's active. Kalira added, and it may become dangerous if left alone. Nora looked at both of them. We need to act fast, but we also need to be careful. If this leaks out, we'll have every major power in the galaxy here by next week, Riley agreed. That's why we came to you first. Nor thought for a moment. I'll call for a secret team to begin studying the site. No word leaves this room. Kalira said, We'll help. We've been inside. We know what to look for. Nora nodded. Then let's begin. But if things go wrong, we shut it down. No questions. As they left the meeting, Riley looked at Kalira. We make a good team, he said. She gave a small smile. Just don't try another trick without telling me first. He laughed. No promises? They both knew the real challenge was just beginning. For the next few days, Riley and Kalira worked with Nora's team. They moved quietly and carefully. Only a few trusted people knew what was happening under the mining site. The cave entrance was covered with new rocks to hide it from others. Inside, they set up lights, scanners, and tools. The old machines in the chamber were still quiet, but the pulsing light in the center was growing brighter each day. Kalira stood in front of the screen again. She had watched the memory of the precursor beings many times. Each time, she saw new details, fear in their eyes, the strange dark energy that destroyed their world. It made her feel uneasy. Riley was adjusting a scanner nearby. He looked tired. He hadn't been sleeping well. Every time he closed his eyes, he dreamed of the energy core exploding. He tried to stay focused on the work. One of the scientists on the team, a young man named Dylan, called them over. You need to see this, he said. They walked over to his monitor. It showed a strange pattern in the energy core. It's not just a power source, Dylan said. It's a signal, a repeating one, like a code. Kalira looked closer. Can you translate it? Not yet, he said, but I think it's trying to communicate. Riley frowned. With us or with something else? That question stayed with them. The next day, Kalira went back to her quarters to rest. There, she received a private message on her communicator. It was from a Sharon officer named Varric. He was an old friend from her training days. Kalira, the message said, I heard strange news from Veltron 9, a secret operation near the human zone. Be careful. Some people in the Protectorate want to shut it down, even if it means using force. Kalira stared at the screen. She knew Varric would not lie. She had to act fast. She ran to Riley's workshop. We have a problem, she said. My people know something. They might be coming. Riley looked up. How much do they know? I don't know. But if they send a strike team, they won't ask questions. They'll destroy the site. Riley stood up quickly. Then we have to get the data out. Now, they rushed back to the chamber. Dylan and the rest of the team were still working. Riley told them the situation. Start backing up everything, he said. All files, all scans, all recordings. We can't lose it. As they worked, the pulsing light in the center grew even faster. It filled the room with a soft humming sound. Suddenly, the screen lit up with new symbols. Kalira recognized one of them. That's a warning, she said. Something is waking up. A loud sound echoed through the chamber. One of the machines came to life. Its lights flashed red. The walls began to shake. We need to get out, Dylan shouted. Not yet, Riley said. One more minute. We almost have the full data. Kalira stayed beside him. Hurry, we don't have much time. The shaking stopped as quickly as it started. The machine powered down again. The silence was heavy. Dylan handed Riley a small drive. Everything's on here. Let's move. They all rushed out of the cave. Outside, the wind was picking up. Dust filled the sky. In the distance, a ship was landing. It was not a colony ship. It was military. Kalira looked through her scope. Protectorate unit. I see 6 soldiers. Riley clenched his jaw. They're early. Too early. They ran back to the colony. Nora met them at the entrance. We have a problem, she said. We know. Riley replied. He handed her the data drive. This is everything. If they take the site, we still have the truth. Kalira looked at the sky. They won't just take the site. They'll erase it. And maybe us too. Nora gave the drive to one of her aides. Hide this. Make copies. Send it off-world if you have to. The Protectorate soldiers arrived at the colony gate. Their leader, Commander Solon, stepped forward. We are here to secure a dangerous object, he said. Step aside. Nora stood tall. This is neutral ground. You have no right to enter without permission. Solon looked at Kalira. You are Sharon. You will follow orders. Kalira stepped beside Riley. I follow what is right. The tension grew. Soldiers raised their weapons. Then a loud sound came from the mining site. A beam of light shot into the sky. The ground shook. It's waking up again, Riley said. Everyone looked toward the light. Commander Solon lowered his weapon. What is that? Kalira answered. A message from the past. And maybe a warning for our future. No one spoke for a long time. The wind blew red dust between them. Riley looked at Kalira. This changes everything, she nodded. Yes, and it's not. Finished yet? The light in the sky grew brighter. And the real story was just beginning. The bright beam of light from the mining site stayed in the sky for hours. It could be seen from every corner of the colony. People came out of their homes and looked up with fear and wonder. No one knew what it meant. But one thing was clear: it had changed everything. Inside the colony center, Nora was meeting with Riley, Kalira, and a few trusted people. They sat around a table, maps and screens in front of them. This light, Nora said, is not just a warning. It's a signal. And now everyone out there knows something is here. Kalira nodded. We have to protect the core. Not just from the Protectorate, but from others. If news spreads, smugglers, pirates, and worse will come. Riley added, and if the core gets damaged, it might release the same energy that destroyed the precursors. Everyone was silent for a moment. Then Nora looked at Kalira. What else do you know about this? Anything from your records? Kalira hesitated. There's something. A long time ago, my brother was part of a secret mission. They were sent to explore a ruin like this on another planet. They found something, but the mission was cut off. All the records were locked. Riley looked surprised. What happened to him? Kalira's eyes dropped. He never came back. They told me he died in an accident, but I always felt there was more. You think it's connected? Nora asked. Kalira nodded slowly. Yes, I think he found something like this core. Maybe even the same kind of energy. Riley placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we find the truth, for him and for everyone. They made a plan. Riley, Kalira, and Dylan would return to the chamber and try to learn more from the machines. Nora would work on sending secret messages to trusted allies. They needed support scientists, leaders, and maybe even other alien races who believed in peace. Before leaving, Kalira opened her personal log. She found the last message from her brother, sent years ago. It was short, but one part stood out. If you ever find the light, follow it. The truth is deeper than anyone knows. She saved the message to her wrist device and followed Riley and Dylan back to the cave. When they entered the chamber, the energy core was brighter than ever. The machines hummed. The air felt heavy, like the place was watching them. Dylan placed a new scanner near the core. The signal is stronger now, almost like it's alive. Riley looked at the screen. I think it wants to talk. We just don't know how to listen yet. Kalira stepped forward. She looked at the glowing wall where the old recording had played. She pressed her hand to it again. Nothing happened. Then she whispered, I followed the light. Show me the truth. The wall lit up. A new memory started to play. It showed the same precursor beings, but now they were inside a chamber like this one. They stood around the core, holding devices and speaking in a language full of echoes. Suddenly, A dark shadow entered the chamber. It moved like smoke, but had red glowing eyes. The precursors tried to stop it, but their machines failed. The shadow reached the core, and the image ended in light and fire. Riley stared in shock. That thing had destroyed them. Kalira's face was pale, and it might still be out there, or sleeping inside the core. Dylan backed away. We need to shut it down, now. Riley disagreed. If we shut it down the wrong way, we might set it off. We need to understand it first. They began studying the machines again. This time, Kalira found a small panel behind the wall. Inside was an old device. She touched it, and a small part of it lit up in blue. What is that? Riley asked. I think it's a memory key, she said. Maybe it holds more recordings. They connected it to their scanner. A new set of data opened maps, symbols, and logs from thousands of years ago. One log showed coordinates on another world, another ruin, another core. It's not the only one, Riley said. There are more, Kalira looked at him. Maybe my brother found one of them. They copied everything and returned to the colony. Nora met them at the gate. Her face was tense. We got a message, she said. A warship is heading this way. Not Sharon. Not human. Unknown origin. Riley's heart sank. Someone else heard the signal. Kalira's voice was steady. Then we prepare. We protect the core, and we protect this colony. The wind picked up again. Dust swirled around them. In the sky, the light from the core still reached high into the stars, and somewhere out there, something was coming. The light from the sky finally faded after the second day, but the fear it brought did not go away. People in the colony kept asking questions. Some wanted to leave, others wanted answers. Nora tried to calm them, but she knew the danger was. Still growing. Inside the colony control room, Riley and Kalira stood with Nora, looking at a map. The energy source under the ground was still active. The machines in the cave had started to wake up slowly. The team was watching everything carefully. Kalira stepped back from the screen. We need more help. We can't do this alone. Nora nodded. I've sent messages to trusted friends off-world, scientists, leaders, and peacekeepers. I only hope they believe me, Riley added, and I've started scanning for more signals. If the core is one of many, there might be others. We need to find out how they connect. Suddenly, the alarm went off. A warning appeared on the screen. Unknown ship entering orbit, Dylan said from his station. It's not Sharon. Not human. I can't identify it. Kalira's eyes narrowed. Then it's the one we've been warned about. The screen showed a dark ship above the planet. Its shape was strange, with long arms and glowing lights. It didn't look like anything from known space. Riley looked at it. That's not a ship made for peace. The ship sent a signal. It was not a message. It was a scan. A wide pulse of energy passed through the colony. Lights flickered. Some systems went offline. It's searching, Dylan said. Looking for the core. Nora gave a quick order. Shut down all signals. Hide everything. We don't want to give it what it wants. They turned. All scanners and power to the cave. The energy pulse from the core began to slow. But the team still felt uneasy. Later that night, Riley and Kalira stood on a high ridge, watching the sky. Do you think it's here for the core? Riley asked. Kalira nodded. It could be. Or it could be what destroyed the precursors. The same. Shadow, Riley sighed. Then we're in more danger than we thought. She looked at him. We can't stop now. We've come too far, Riley smiled. I didn't plan to stop. The next morning, a small ship landed outside the colony. It carried 2 scientists from a peaceful alien group known as the Alari. They had received Nora's message and came to help. One of them, a tall woman named Lyra, studied the data and said, "This energy is not only ancient, it is smart. It learns. It remembers." The second scientist, a quiet man named Joel, added, "The core is sending out calls, like it's lonely or afraid. Riley asked, "Can we talk to it?" Joel answered, "Maybe, but we need to do it carefully. If we wake it too fast, it might see us." As a threat, they began building a safe communication link. Kalira worked closely with the Alari. Riley stayed near the scanners. Days passed, and the unknown ship stayed in orbit, silent but watching. Then, one night, the core lit up again. This time, it did not send light into the sky. It opened a new path inside the cave. A door slid open, leading to a lower chamber. Riley, Kalira, and the two Alari entered the new chamber. Inside, the air was cooler. The walls were smooth, and in the center was a tall device. It looked like a pillar with glowing marks. Joel whispered, "This is the heart of the core." Kalira stepped closer. The pillar began to glow brighter. A soft voice echoed in the room, not in words, but in feelings. Peace, fear, loneliness, hope. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's alive." "It knows we are here," Riley asked. "What does it want?" Kalira placed her hand on the pillar. The light surrounded her, and her mind filled with images. She saw the precursor world. She saw them building the cores to protect their people. She saw the dark shadow destroying them. And she saw something else, a message left behind for someone strong enough to stop it. She stepped back. Her face was pale. "It wants us to finish what the precursors started, to protect others, to stop the shadow." Riley looked at her. "Then that's what we do." "We fight," Joel nodded, "but we need more help." "This is bigger than one colony," Kalira said. "We find allies." "We share the truth, and we prepare." Outside, the wind picked up again. In the sky, the dark ship slowly moved. It was waiting, watching, planning Dot, and the time to act was coming soon. The next morning, the sky above Veltrin 9 was darker than usual. The strange ship was now closer. Its shadow covered the colony. People stood outside their homes and stared up with quiet fear. They knew something was coming. Dot in the command room. Nora stood with Riley Kalira, the two Alari scientists, and Dylan. The final message from the core had made everything clear. This was not just about one planet. It was about stopping a great danger before it spread again. "The dark ship is not here to talk," Kalira said. "It's waiting for the right moment to strike." Riley added, "And if we don't act first, it might destroy the core and everything around it." Lyra, the Alari scientist, looked at the screen. "The core is calling out for help. But it's also ready. It can defend itself." Joel nodded. "But it needs time. We must delay the enemy." Nora turned to them. "Then we'll do everything we can to hold them back." They made a plan. Nora would lead the colony defenses. Riley and Kalira would go back to the chamber with Lyra and Joel to activate the final part of the core. Dylan and the rest of the science team would help protect the entrance and guide others to safety if needed. As the enemy ship lowered through the clouds, dark drones flew out of it. They were fast, silent, and deadly. They began moving toward the colony. Nora gave the order: activate the shields. Protect the civilians. Large panels rose from the ground and created an energy field over the colony. The drones hit the shield and exploded, but more kept coming. Riley, Kalira, Lyra, and Joel rushed into the cave. The lights inside the chamber glowed brighter. The pillar in the center waited for their touch. Kalira stepped forward. "Let's finish this." She placed her hand on the pillar. The room filled with light. Symbols appeared in the air. The machines began to hum. A deep sound echoed through the cave, like the voice of the core. Lyra guided them. "Each of us must connect. Only then will the core release its true power." One by one, they each touched the pillar. As they did, their minds connected. They saw the history of the precursors, the rise of the dark force, and the reason the cores were built. Not as weapons, but as beacons, warnings, defenders of peace. Outside, the drones had broken through part of the shield. The colony guards fought back with what they had, but they were outnumbered. Nora stood in the center of the command post. "Hold the line! Help is coming!" Back inside the cave, the pillar changed shape. A new beam of energy rose from it and passed through the ceiling. It reached the sky and hit the enemy ship. The ship shook. Some drones fell from the sky. The beam grew stronger. It was not just light, it was information. A memory of what happened. To the precursors. A warning to the enemy. Joel gasped. "It's forcing the enemy to see the truth." Kalira's voice was calm. "And if they refuse to stop, the core will protect itself." The enemy ship fired a powerful blast toward the colony. The shield cracked. Then the ground shook. The cave walls opened, and more machines rose from the Earth-O precursor machines, round and tall, with glowing parts. They moved fast, protecting the cave, and the colony. Nora saw them from the command post. "What are those?" Dylan smiled. "The past is waking up to save the future." The machines attacked the enemy drones. They used light and sound, breaking them apart. The ship in the sky pulled back. It tried to escape, but the energy beam from the core locked onto it. Kalira looked up. "It's over." The core made its choice. The enemy ship began to break apart slowly. Not from damage, but from pressure. It could not resist. The dark energy faded. The sky cleared. Everyone in the colony watched as the last pieces of the ship vanished. A wave of calm moved through the land. Riley sat down on the cave floor. "We did it." Kalira sat beside him. "No, we all did it. Together." Lyra smiled. "This core will sleep again, but now it knows it is not alone." Joel added, "And we know how to listen." They returned to the colony. People cheered and hugged. Nora gave a short speech. "This is not just a victory for us. It's a message to the galaxy. We are stronger when we stand together." In the days that followed, messages came from other worlds. Some offered help. Others shared their own stories of forgotten machines and hidden warnings. Riley and Kalira stood outside the cave one last time. He looked at her and said, "So, what now?" She smiled. "Now we prepare for whatever comes next. And we do it side by side." The wind was gentle. The stars above were bright. And the future, though uncertain, felt full of hope.